Greetings to all and early happy holidays. Thanks for joining us for a new edition of the FwooshCast. The holidays are a time for family and friends, so I am very glad to welcome back to the FwooshCast a longtime friend of ours, and we're very happy to have him, Mr. Brian Flynn from Super7. Brian, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. We right as we started this, we were talking about like, okay, we got to start this in another minute because I got to finish my eBay auction at the last second. And so that's where we left off, which is sort of makes sense for anybody watching this, that we've got to organize this interview around when our eBay auctions are ending.
Exactly.
And, I was bidding on something fairly minor, but you apparently are bidding on something serious.
Yeah. I'm trying to make offers on a set of Knickerbocker Sesame Street figures that from the early 1980s that are just absolutely pristine, and the sellers kind of being back and forth with me about nickel and diming me all the way, trying to get as close back to that original asking price as possible. So I'm just like, come on, man.
He knows he's got you on the line.
I know. I know.
Are you going to find another set? You know, come on, man.
Well, hopefully,
$10.
I know. Well, and hopefully yours won't get sniped at the last second on you, because that's
that's the thing. I'm going to run the risk by bidding now for an auction that ends in 15 minutes, and then hope for the best.
I'll be watching in 15 minutes. We'll put out a reminder. We can take a quick pause because there's nothing worse than losing an auction at the last second.
He had 3 or 4 going today. I got the one I really needed. The rest are all gravy.
All right. Well,
they're all like an hour and a half apart too, which is really annoying.
That's brutal.
I need them to be 5 minutes apart so I can just roll through these and move on with my day.
Exactly. It's not like things aren't busy with, as soon as, the con season kind of rolled off, we're right into the holiday season. So I'm sure you are just as busy as can be, but how are you feeling? Festive, exhausted, exhaustedly festive, all of that?
I am feeling about 900 versions of everything all at once. I got sick like a month ago for like a week and a half. Terrible. Didn't test positive for COVID, didn't test positive for RSV, whatever. And yet it's been lingering and lingering and lingering for weeks. It's been terrible. So I'm still trying to beat that. You hear a little bit in my nose there.
Well, with three little kids in the house, we've been cycling through all the various fun strains of the cold and whatnot around here. So I feel you.
Yeah. My dad used to call, instead of Gymboree, if you ever taken your kids to gym, he called it Germboree.
Yeah, that is accurate. That is accurate.
100% accurate. If there's anything going around, your kids will get it, and so will you. So there's that. There's also I have to all of a sudden not say my year ends December 31st. I have to say my year ends January 30th.
Yeah.
The run up to CNY is always stressful, but gets the factories moving in a way that sometimes they don't move the rest of the year. So there's so much stuff leaving the factory that has already left the factory. I think we have 11 containers on the water right now.
Wow.
And like every week there's new stuff leaving the factory. So there's so much stuff that will be leaving that has starting with December 1 through January 30. So we're already a couple weeks into that. In that 60 days, it's going to be almost as much stuff as we've delivered in like a 6-month period or something.
Wow.
And that means that then 30 days later, I'll be able to mail it to people. So
yeah,
I'm just ecstatic that a lot of these long overdue projects will finally be in people's hands.
Well, I was going to say it may be Yule log time with the cognac and whatnot as soon as CNY actually starts, because there is no rest for the production cycle until then. But
no, and to the point where we've actually talked about whether or not we legally change our fiscal year to match the production year, only because it creates such chaos of like, the factory level, if it leaves December 28th or January 2nd, immaterial to them.
Right.
Huge shift on my end,
Right.
depending on when it leaves and when it
Right.
gets built. So
Well,
yeah, it just adds a layer of stress into it about when things leave. So
well, and it's keeping your marketing guys busy updating that handy dandy pre-order shipment page, which has been crazy because it's a good place to start on one because you know, I haven't met Josh in person, but I always took Josh to be a normal sized dude. But holding that Thunder Tank box and production Thunder Tank, he looks downright, I don't know, Hobbit like because of the
oh,
size of these
I've got one
babies.
right here. Hold on. I did this yesterday or the other day. It is heavy.
That's crazy.
It's gigantic, and I'm not exaggerating. This box might weigh more than Snake Mountain.
Really?
This thing is so beefy, it's crazy.
Wow. It
So
Miss well Brian Underhill, we're gonna get real nerdy with those Hobbit names, but it's close, it's on track. I think the last update was
the first one starts shipping this Friday. So it's technically December 12th on Monday. So on the 16th, the first container leaves. Now, these will be on containers every Friday all through December, the rest of December, and the third week of January. So depending on who you ordered it from, depends on when your container leaves and where it's going to, because it can't all come out at once.
Right.
But they start leaving the factory this Friday, and then every successive Friday, there's another container or two coming out.
Wow. Wow.
So,
well, when you work on a large scale project, a larger item project like this, does it? I'm sure it has its own feeling as it's in development. Does it have a different feeling to you as you start to deliver as well? Is it more of a relief? Is it like extra joy to be delivering something so huge and complicated over normal fare? Or
I think the satisfaction comes again. We sort of have the first bit when we get the test shots, and we're like, oh, but they're so far off. And then when you kind of have like, okay, now it's final, you're like, okay, I can check it off the list. I feel done. But the real satisfaction doesn't really happen until people get it in their hands, and then you start getting the feedback. Because I know how I think you're going to react to it, but until you react to it, I don't know.
Right.
So right now, it's all about, all right, I can't wait for you to get this in your hands, because then I'll know if it lived up to billing or not.
Yeah. Well, it's gigantic. This year has brought us a lot of series of ThunderCats, so there's going to be plenty of them to fill out and be able to ride along in the tank. So
and there's so many, like Mandora and the Electrocharger have been on the water for a little while.
Really?
Yeah. Those are, hold on. I mean, I got steps. What you need. What you need. Come on, Veebs.
We'll put that in your hand.
There's Mandora.
Excellent.
There's the Electrocharger.
And that's one too. It's like I know it's like shipping around the same time as the Thunder Tank, but this should not be overlooked simply because it's a big, individual vehicle on its own.
Yeah, this one's already on its way. Here's your final Electrocharger.
Awesome.
So,
it's wide. I remember seeing it in person at San Diego, and it's like, I can kind of work those things out spatially in my brain, but it doesn't do it justice like when you see it actually in person.
Yeah. And then Mandora.
Excellent. So did all of the
tilted back so you can get
Electrochargers,
light bulbs in there? What?
did all the Chargers and all the Mandoras, did those all go out at the same time, or is that like the tank where they have to kind of stagger it?
Nope, they all went out at the same time. and they will come all at once. But those have been on the water for a little bit now.
That's
So
awesome.
hopefully in
Well,
the next.
and things are, shipping right now, but I have to say I was kind of pleasantly surprised with kind of I don't want to say an end of the year charge, but in the past couple of months, you guys have offered several new ThunderCats things. One is kind of expected with a new full Ultimate series, but then you've offered the exclusive at Big Bad Toy Store with the clear Tigra, and then right now available is something that's particularly interesting to me is that the reptilians,
The
because
reptilians.
yeah, it's like you get to take what is, my opinion, like the base of the best Thundercats figure yet, and find a way to give it new life with these characters that showed up, early on in the series. But was this a logical step, or just something that you guys thought would be like, Sly's a badass, so let's make let's make more more like him?
A little bit of both.
Yeah,
I mean, the first part of it is that Scythe figure is amazing.
yeah, that's my
So
favorite.
cool. And we're just like, all right, I want to do more with this figure, but it didn't really there's not really a Scythe repaint to be made.
Yeah,
So then we went back and we're like, all right, well, could we make army builders out of the reptilians? And the cool part was when you go back and it's like, okay, yes, there's multicolors. We've got sort of the yellowish colored one, the gray colored one, the blue colored one. And Scythe is green. You've got all these different colors that you can work with. And then it was like, all right, well, then how do you further differentiate it? And then again, you come back to all the different kinds of armor based on, their job role within the reptilians. And different weapons and stuff. And so it sort of came back to this, like, we could do some cool stuff with that Scythe body
yeah.
and make something that makes sense. But at the same time, not everybody needs it, kind of thing. So if you're that guy, which
I'm not
you
that
might
guy.
be, you're that guy, you're like, oh man, this is awesome. I need these. I love it. And if you're not that guy, you can be like, I got Scythe. I don't need the reptilians.
I am definitely that guy. So I have a couple of extra Monkeans and Jackalmen that I kind of dress down and differently to kind of be, because their army builder guys looked more just like them,
Yeah.
whereas the Scythe guys looked different. So
Yeah. The reptilians definitely have a lot more unique features.
yeah.
So
Well,
uh
it's
yeah.
a fun release. Like we said, it makes use of, I think, my all-time favorite Ultimates figure thus far. It's just to see him back again, but also because of the choice in characters. And I think the latest round of the actual Ultimate series kind of got there, is that we're kind of now at the point with Thundercats where we're really into like those world building characters, and the line is like progressing on. It's kind of like TMNT, where we're really getting into some of these guys that maybe at the beginning you're like, I don't know if these are going to happen, but now it feels like they have a shot. I think that's a really exciting thing for me. Does that kind of change the dynamic about how you guys plan the series and the line once you get to a point like this?
Yes and no. I mean, there's definitely some key characters to be made still.
Yeah,
There's a couple of people keep asking about.
couple of shorties.
Yep. A couple of shorties. That's right. Hey girl. Hey. No, there's definitely a couple characters that are obvious that in their omission. And then a lot of the fun of lines like this, when we can get here, is making all those characters you've never had the chance to own before.
Yeah,
And it seems like people, for the most part, are along for the ride. You definitely have a lot of people that are like, I just want, the main five and I'm good.
right.
But no, it as long as people are into it, we'll keep going. And then there's always that line that we run between, this is a core character, you've never had this character, or this is a variant of a character you've already gotten, which is, and those typically tend to be exclusives or one-offs. That's why Ghost Jaga is a variant of Jaga.
Right. And I
Flynn
forgot to mention
Tiger is
him,
very
but I think
iconic.
for a lot of people that's their Jaga, right? Because he's not an anachronism with the rest of them, right?
Well, it's technically in that zone where you're like, I don't actually see Jaga that often.
Uh-huh.
Ghost Jaga, I see all the time.
Right.
So Ghost Jaga is the core character, where living Jaga, maybe not so much.
Right.
You
Well,
know,
and the seventh series that just closed for pre-order I think last week or something. It's funny because as far as character selection goes, I think it was one of the most dynamic. And it's funny because two out of three of my most wanted characters left in the line, who couldn't be any more different from each other, made it into that series. And it's like, okay, yeah, that's cool for me, but I think it shows that you know, the different types of characters, shapes and sizes is pretty good right now, but there's still a lot of various creatures, weirdos, and whatnot to do in a line like this. And I think that's really exciting.
I agree with you.
Uh, So I assume we're going to be full speed ahead, you know, as we move into 2023 with ThunderCats as well. No
Yeah,
breaks.
yeah. No worries about ThunderCats. There's
Uh,
still plenty of fun and exciting things to be done in ThunderCats.
Well, I'm excited. I can't wait. I guess we'll probably get the It's weird to say, oh, the electro charger will be, you know, like the little appetizer to the Thunder Tank, because it's not an appetizer. It's like it's like a full course in and of itself. But those are going to be some display altering pieces that we're going to have here pretty soon. So exciting
Yeah. I
stuff.
think everybody's gonna be very, very excited with all that stuff. They turned out great.
All right. Well, to kind of keep it in that realm, something that's ThunderCats adjacent. I know we kind of talked about these guys last time. I think probably after the Thunder Tank, the things that people are most excited to see in hand are those Silverhawks. And last time, you know, you were making some adjustments as far as that goes. I was just hoping we could check in with an update as to where we're at with production of those guys.
Yeah, so here's the update on production. The first update is that Silverhawks Wave 2 is further ahead than Silverhawks Wave 1, and Silverhawks Wave 2 should be shipping out of the factory roughly first, maybe second week of January.
Wow,
So
really?
I have samples here, but they're all in white boxes. They're
Yeah.
not the correct boxes, but like,
Ooh.
you know.
Somehow it's weirdly appropriate that he's gonna get here before the other version. I don't know. Maybe this is working out the way it's supposed to.
Let's go through, because two is going to technically leave before one, but
Uh-huh.
two is first, second week of January.
Yeah,
So two is there. I mean, look at that guy.
that's my guy. That's my version of Monstar. Armored is cool, but man, that design, the head, yeah,
Dragon.
yeah. The red,
Crazy head. Look at the hair.
yeah, the red airbrushing on that dark base body looks
Yeah.
extra evil. I really like that one.
And just for perspective, this is his box versus a regular box.
Yeah, I got Hyacinth Hippo recently, and I'm like, this box is nuts. And then when you open it, it's like, oh well, that's why.
Yeah. Like, what's going on with this box? And it's like, oh, it's because there's a giant hippo in it.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yes, excellent.
Uh, it's hard to see all this stuff. So here.
So what caused two to get ahead of one? Just the stuff that you learned in one that could be applied to two faster, or
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that's, just fixing all the little things in one. But I
yeah.
mean, look at the
I,
size of
I love that
this
sickly
piece.
green color
Yeah.
on him.
Make sure that sits in there right. There's
The
all the
improbable
effects
tuning,
pieces.
yeah, the improbable tuning fork of sound in outer space is quite excellent.
Exactly.
And that's the full soft goods kind of tuning
Yeah.
on him too. Yeah, so he'll be able to still move real well.
Yeah. If you want to, he can have more of a boat neck or maybe a drop V, however you
Depends
like
on
to dress him.
depends on how sexy you want him.
Exactly. He's sexy and he knows it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. This. So
Man, he's big.
He's big. This one doesn't have a perfect final paint on it. This is obviously an earlier sample that I'm
Right.
still here. A more corrected version is out there, but
Yeah, he's a wide boy for sure.
he's a big man.
Yeah.
That and then all the stuff.
Oh.
You see those wings
Yeah.
glistening.
Oh, doing that with the wings just because of the light there or whatever, that was really for one of the
Yeah,
times that you can really see the effect right there. Yeah.
yeah. This paint isn't the quite right paint, so it's got a little bit on there, but there's more in the final.
Yeah.
Um,
Make your screen a little bigger so we can actually see it better. People don't need to be looking at me during all of this.
uh, let's see here. And then your favorite cowboy from space.
Somehow he ended up as my favorite Silverhawk. I don't know why.
Okay. Now this one's all the stuff on the inside just fell out.
Oh.
These aren't final blisters.
He dropped his guitar.
Well, there's all these hands. Oh man. Hold on. So let's see there. The lariat goes there, the straps for the guitar, all these hands. These are not, this is not the corrected blister. You
Yeah.
can see this. It's supposed to happen. So it's supposed to be inside the tray. They go in here. Now you got to figure out which hand goes into which one. They're all shaped up.
You pull those covers off and it's like that game Perfection. It's like everything goes all over and trying
In
to
a very
figure out which ones
specific
go back.
spot.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, long story short, the hands that were sitting up here because we took them all out, all belong in here.
Yeah.
All the hands will normally sit in here. Got the lariat,
Nice.
got the lasso, and fold it up. Guitar straps for both guitars. And then we go back to what people want to see. Once again, not final paint, but
That is a stunning cowboy hat. And
he's in shadow a bunch, but
it's made even better by the fact that it hides a metal mohawk underneath it. So
uh but
so
yeah, it pops off and
so that's exciting though. It's
it's
because
overdue.
what we got ThunderCats 4 slightly ahead of 2, so we're flexible. We adjust. We'll take all the Silverhawks.
So yeah, so wave 2 will deliver right in the beginning of January, and then wave 1 starts coming out of the factory right at the end of January.
Right at the so it's going to make it before.
I feel that at the very least 2 of the 4 will make it out, but I
Okay.
think I'm hopeful that all 4 will make it out, but I do believe that yes, it should be. It better be.
Awesome. Well, it'll there's a wait. I think everybody agrees that we would rather wait to make sure that things are where you want them to be, and now essentially getting 2 series basically on top of each other will be a good thing here right at the beginning or the first part of 2020.
It'll be good to have them in hand finally.
Yeah.
Because they are well overdue for everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone can get them and finally go like, oh, all right, this is what I've waited for.
Right. And then series 3 is probably moving along as well, so it feels like 2023 might be it kind of happened with ThunderCats at the beginning of 2022. Oh yeah,
We have this. This is see, like those samples that I have here are earlier and they don't have some of the final paint. They don't have final boxes, where this throne is clearly a final sample in the shipper.
Yeah.
If I can get it to slide out in the box.
Oh, very nice.
So imagine this
Uh-huh.
that we just saw.
And so the bad guys will kind of have that kind of blood red color to it, and the good guys will keep the blue and silver, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, cool. Cool. Well, it looks great.
And once again, here's this when people were like, it's not really that big, right? Here's the size
Mhm.
of a normal box.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
Yeah,
It's big.
yeah, that looks even like I said, the hyacinth box, that looks bigger than that one. So yeah, it's gonna be a large box that's delivered if you
Got a
order.
big throne in there. People
Yeah.
want to think he's got a little chair. This isn't from IKEA. It's
He's an
custom made.
intergalactic crime lord. He doesn't sit in a little chair.
No, no. It's a big old throne.
Yeah. Well,
That old has an apostrophe at the end and everything. Big
yeah.
old throne. Baby's got a
Well,
big old throne.
he got a big old throne. Well, and that throne, I'm glad, we were talking, as we said before we started, I'm doing some pretty major moving around of the hobby air, the collection space down here, and I'm making more room for ThunderCats and Silverhawks together. So that's a good thing, and hopefully I'll make more room than I need, at least for now. And we'll
Yes,
fill up those corners in a bit.
definitely. Definitely. Another thing that'll finally be leaving. I only have the two samples, but and these aren't 100% final, but they're close. But G.I. Joe.
Oh, I was going to ask about G.I. Joe as well.
Now, these blisters have been destroyed by going from convention to convention. So
Mhm.
Flint's head's actually falling through the blister. But, Flint,
Very nice. And Flint is what? Series 2, right?
Flint is series two. Series one and series two will both be out before Chinese New Year.
Awesome.
I think these
Awesome.
are actually like a week or two away, if not
Really?
a week away. I mean, they're really close.
That's awesome. Well, and I was going to ask about Joe's because I mean, Joe Series 1, Simpson Series 1, Power Rangers, SpongeBob, Animaniacs,
Since
Transformer Series 2. Those are all like still listed as production and in production, so I figured they were getting close.
and they're all getting ready to come out.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. I think it's hard to keep it all straight. I
Sure.
think Animaniacs is right at the end, but I think Simpsons is in the next week or two again as well.
Really.
Like
It's funny.
right
It's
around the corner.
it's funny how the timing's working out because I mean, obviously we don't know all of the things that go into the production and the journey that they've been on. Ooh, nice. But I assume they've all been very different from each other. Just to
Yeah,
wind up shipping at the same time.
it's well, yeah, exactly. They have to have been in production for a while to get out the door.
Yeah.
Destro's blister is completely hammered, but as you can
Oh,
see, this looks like a T1000 came out of there.
yeah, it's gonna and that red
Head goes.
that red that you're using against the black, that really pops.
Yeah, he turned out great. This is once again 100% not final because the lava here isn't painted.
Hmm.
But
But
yeah.
that's exciting. And so then 1 and 2 right essentially with each other. Is 1 going to be before 2 or will we
I believe
swap?
one, yeah, they're only a couple weeks apart, so you'll be getting them roughly at the same time.
Okay.
Very nice.
Oh, very nice.
So these are the ones that we used at New York.
Uh-huh.
So these are the samples that are, I mean, October, November. These are samples that are almost 2 months old now. The final updated samples are with the production teams, not with me, because
Hmm.
he works in San Francisco anymore. They're all in
Yeah.
different places.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like I keep holding up these things and like a weapon will fall out of a blister. And it's like, yeah, because this blister's been used like 15 times now.
It's
It's like,
road traveled at this point. Yeah.
yeah, you're not, you can pop things in and out here and there, but when 15, 16 times, they get a little, it's like banging an old Pepsi bottle till it
Yeah.
crinkle.
So, well, Q1 then into maybe early Q2, just depending on when stuff makes it out. It's gonna be crazy as far as the things that are gonna be added, both
Yeah,
continuations. Ooh,
like all this stuff.
oh, that's series 6, huh? With
Yeah,
each
it's right
star.
around the corner too. I think this makes it out before CNY as well.
Wow, that's a fast turnaround on that series.
Yeah. So these are the cartoon
The toy
versions.
versions. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Toy version, sorry.
Yeah. Awesome. I like the bold colors of the toy versions, you know.
Yeah. Well, like I said, most people spent more time with the toys than they did with the
Yeah,
animation.
yeah, yeah.
So but yeah, that's we've got toy versions of Rhino and
Excellent.
Olympian. Um, let's see here. There's and then Invisible Tiger.
Yeah, that's a fun, but that was an unexpected version of Tigra. Cool to get. Ooh,
Oh,
silver. Ooh, I like the silver.
cool.
With
And there
sound
we have
effect.
it.
Yeah.
And you can see he's got some white paint on top of the clear for like the
Yeah.
stripes and everything.
Yeah.
And he has an elbow pad.
He does. This one has the elbow pad.
New tooling. He's got the elbow pad.
Oh,
Not new. Let me rephrase that. Not new tooling. Correct tooling
yes.
that wasn't used properly on first release, but he has the elbow pad.
Excellent. And you mentioned I ask about this because you've talked kind of in detail about how series 2 was kind of done in a different place than the rest of
Series one and two. We're
1
doing.
and 2. With the correct, did you have to go back and kind of start from scratch with Tiger, or did you get that stuff, the tools and stuff moved to your other factory in order to do that? I would think that's a logistical piece or
No, I think we moved the tools because we paid for those tools.
yeah, okay.
Only
Cool.
wave one are the tools we don't own that we had to rebuild.
Right. Wow. Okay. Well, lots of Thundercats, Silverhawks,
Lots of Thundercats,
Joes,
lots of Silverhawks,
new
lots of
things starting.
Joes.
Transformers, I think it's gonna be great to get Megatron to go with Optimus for sure, as far as and Grimlock, man, I'm excited for Grimlock.
I've got one. I don't know what stage. Have I held it up for you before?
No, uh-uh.
Let me grab it out of the other room real
All
quick.
right, cool.
Now you
If
can
you're
make like
sure.
a song or something like doo-doo.
I will promise not to practice my Grimlock voice while we wait.
Okay, now this is a much older sample, but I'll give you uh, thing. So like, here we go. We had a Lino, right?
Uh-huh.
And people are like, "Oh, you're just casually holding up unpainted test shot." Jerk. This is Grimlock.
Grimlock am big.
Grimlock am gigantic.
Wow.
Like so
Wow.
scale and like
Depth. Yeah.
Grimlock
Okay.
definitely should have been priced up.
Yeah.
It was,
Well, I assumed he was going to be bigger than the rest, but that's a lot bigger than I was expecting seeing it in hand like that compared to Lionel.
yeah, like this is a really old sample,
Yeah.
uh,
But still.
but
Yeah.
it's stupid huge.
Oh,
Um,
which means that apron's going to be big too.
Grimlock.
Yeah.
Oh,
Me, Grimlock best. Yeah, yeah. Oh man. And see, you started putting up shiny, cool new toys in front of me, and I lost track of time. I hope you won that auction because we're way past it now.
it's one of those where you also bid in and go, I didn't want to pay more than that anyways.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
but yes, I won.
Excellent.
So
Excellent. Well,
I got the
you having
notification.
to talk to me didn't get in the way of that. So that's good. That's good. Well,
Uh,
well, speaking.
yeah, no, there's so much cool stuff. At the same time, I'm going to use this as a plug if anybody hasn't. I'm super pumped. I'm so excited about this one.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
I I called him Black Metal Voltron the other day because I was trying to remember what the actual name was. But yeah, he looks good in those colors.
Well, and it is a vintage Popey reference, and that's why
Yeah.
you've got sort of like the outlines without the fill, just
Hmm.
the outlines here, the outlines here. So we're talking about that vintage Popey Radine that they only made one time like that. They
Yeah.
made a gold Mazinga and they made this black and gold Radine that's just bonkers cool looking.
Yeah.
And it's just the same thing where you're like, it's such a cool toy. Why didn't they ever make more of these? And I was like, we could make more robots in
Yeah.
that style.
Yeah.
So this is it. And so this is literally even just a hand painted one, but it's
Yeah. It's gonna look good.
cool. Wow.
And Voltron was kind of like, well, Toxic Crusaders before you kind of announced, the next series was one that I was hoping you would come back to and get some more out for it because I think that's a really fun property. I always knew Voltron better than I knew. I don't know why I compare Voltron and Transformers to each other, but as a kid, I saw more Voltron than I did Transformers. So that's definitely more my speed.
Yeah, and it's just to me, it's this sort of, like I said, it's this 360-degree story again from like the beginning of my collecting when I
Hmm.
really, you know, collected my Star Wars figures, got into Japanese, started getting into all the different formats, and it was like, and then you start getting into the Chogokin stuff, and you're like, oh man, that black and gold Radine special
Yeah.
edition, where they call it, it's a super, what's the technical name for it? Oh, my nerd cred just went out the window.
Nah, nah, nah,
Um,
nah, nah.
I'm gonna do this real quick. All right, hold on.
Yeah.
Black Opie Radine. You have to, it's only on the box. It's technically called Super Metal Black.
See,
Deluxe Super Metal Black.
Super Metal Black is the perfect name for that. and
Except
that's why
that
I
that
didn't want to say it because I couldn't remember it, so I was just calling it black metal. Because
Super Metal Black. And we were like, perfect name.
yeah.
Right in there with Super 7. And then we are like, then legally it was like, that's probably not a good idea to use another toy company's name. Like, all right, fine. Still
That
paints like that though.
wow.
But I'm hoping this is the first of a series of robot repaints, all in
Mhm.
that Hopi Super Metal Black style
Across different properties.
across different properties, so you could just have them all lined up.
Oh, that's cool.
I
Dang.
think it'd be super rad.
Yeah, that is cool. Well, I'm looking, like I said, I was looking forward to getting another Voltron on there. So I'm glad to see that continuing on for sure. But I thought of something when we were talking about Thunder Tank, and I wanted to come back to it really quickly because I know it's not as far along, but I thought I would ask about
Ask about the turtle van.
the turtle van. The turtle van. Yes, I set that
Um,
up too easily.
yes, Turtle Van is coming along. We weren't happy with the way some of the parts came out, so we did retool quite a bit of it.
Oh, really?
To, yeah, to beef it up, quite honestly.
Okay.
Uh, and
What, beef it up to make it bigger or like more solid as far as thickness of walls and stuff like that? Okay.
more solid in terms of thicknesses, walls. It just because of, like, if you really break down the parts on some of that, because the
Hmm.
roof is a separate part than the bottom,
Yeah.
with all the windows and stuff, you definitely start getting into a scenario where there's not as there's not a whole lot that actually goes from the bottom of the van all the way to the roof line.
Okay.
And so therefore, even if it's the correct thickness,
Hmm.
it feels thinner than it should
Right.
because there's not as much material in places. So it's a little more flexy. I don't want people to be like, I can flex it, but it doesn't have that same solidity that it should, even if you're using the same wall thicknesses that I'm using on the Thunder Tank.
Yeah.
Uh, it just didn't feel right, I guess, is
Gotcha.
the only way I can describe it. We're like, it, I mean, we're pretty much done, and we're just like, it's not right yet.
Yeah.
And so we went back and retooled, or retooled's the wrong word, modified
Okay.
modified a lot of tooling. And
Well,
that
what's the difference between that when you say that? Is it making adjustments to what's there as opposed to making brand new? Okay.
exactly taking the existing tooling and then basically going in and cutting it more.
Okay.
So but then that has a downstream effect to every tool that connects to it. So
Right.
if I make this piece thicker, how it connects to this piece and how that
Right.
connects to this piece and what the interior, everything has to be adjusted. So you're modifying the tooling of the entire thing. So I don't have an updated sample of the newest tooling,
Mm-hmm.
but it is due. I'm trying to remember. Because quite honestly, I'm like, isn't it due like any day now? And I
Really?
think it's actually slightly overdue.
Okay.
Um, so I have not seen it, but I know it's been done and they've been working on it. And then you get back into tool debugging and it's all
Right.
into that sort of like, oh, this needs to move a 64th of an inch or 1/10 of a millimeter and all these things that you get into. It should be here soon. Not probably, it means that it won't ship until it backing up. If it's all corrected before Chinese New Year,
Mm-hmm.
all the other parts, how the deco's handled, everything else, boxes, all that's already done.
Okay.
So then we should be able to jump into production right after Chinese New Year and get it out pretty quickly.
Awesome. So hopefully if all of that's good, we're thinking like mid-year summer type of thing for maybe. I know it's hard to say and you
Yeah.
don't want to say, but just trying to work it out in my head.
Yeah, because we should have been there already, but it just same thing. It was done and finished, and it just didn't feel right in the way that like when you feel, and I don't hate to harp on it, but like when you get the Thunder Tank, you're like, this is what I paid for.
Right.
We felt like when we were done with the Thunder Tank, it was like it just didn't quite have quite as much presence,
Yeah.
and it needed to be improved.
Well, I think
Much to my financial chagrin.
oh. Well, when you're dealing with super premium projects like that, which kind of brings me to the next one. Thunder Tank's winding down, Turtle Van is moving along. Do you have a desire? Is there thoughts going on as far as, what's next? Not
What's
necessarily
next?
for a specific property, but for a big item, right? Is that something you're even wanting to think about?
It is something we're definitely wanting to think about. Every time we start to get sort of talking about it, I basically kind of shut it down for right now because
Mhm.
it's like I need to finish this one,
Yep.
get it in your hands, and I
Yep.
need to get that turtle van into people's hands. At that point, then there will be excitement and or confidence for the next.
Okay.
But until that time, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves a bit.
That is.
And I don't want to, while planning wise, I should be.
Yeah.
In the fact is we've got plenty of other projects going on, obviously, that we
Mhm.
need to deliver on. I'm like, let's not get too far ahead. Let's make sure that you get this and you're so excited that you want the next thing.
Yeah.
Because if I get far along on making the next thing, then you get this and you're like, sucks, not into it. Like, then I've wasted a whole lot of time
Yeah.
and or expense. So I would love to get on to the next big thing, but starting this Friday, they'll be on a boat. And
All right.
hopefully in the near term, you'll start getting these things in your hands, and then we'll have people, hopefully, I say hopefully because I can't speak for them, but if I
Yeah.
were speaking from them, I'd say, oh my God, this is so much better than I expected it to be. Please tell me what's next.
Yeah.
And then I can go, okay,
All right.
figure out what's next.
That is a very prudent way to approach it. So we'll
At,
pick.
at the dollar signs involved,
Yeah.
We have to be methodical. We can't just be like, well, we'll start on this, 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 this. It's
Yeah.
like, no, we're not starting on any of that.
Well, we'll put a pin in that one and circle back around Turtle Van delivery time and see how things are going at that point. But that's in the future, and you kind of have to live in the future, and
I
you come
live in the
back.
future in most cases, but in
Yeah.
this case, like say I deliver this and everybody starts getting them in their hands in January and February, and tells me they're awesome. And Turtle Van's going to show up, May or June. Then I've got 3 or 4 months to get something ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Well, then as difficult as it might be to come back to the past, which is actually everyone else's present, I kind of wanted to, I appreciate the updates on everything, but I kind of wanted to look at 2022, since we're technically close enough now as like the year that was, because this is the time for reflection and whatnot. And here's a really unfair question, just because I want to ask it, because it may be hard to remember everything that came out this year, put your mind back into this year or whatever, but it's kind of like picking your favorite child, maybe a little bit. But do you have a favorite Ultimates figure that you can say that's my favorite one that came out this year?
There's a bunch
Yeah.
that qualify. It might be like a top 5 kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Muckman and Joe Eyeball,
The
as
glow one.
well as Muckman and Joe Eyeball, as well as Mutagen Man.
Uh-huh.
Those two. The Astronauts from 2001.
Yeah.
Lump those into a group. The
Yeah.
Astronauts from 2001. The Worst just came out, so those
Yeah.
technically fall in.
Yeah.
I would say that I really liked the color change Lino,
Yeah.
because I
That's
think
a
that
fun.
was a cool, fun, unexpected, different toy.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
um, I'm trying to even think what else came out this year. I think a lot of the things I'm super excited about just haven't made it yet. I'm
Yeah.
so pumped to get G.I. Joe into people's hands. Uh, things like Grimlock and some of the Transformers. I can't remember. Did Robin Hood deliver this year or
Yeah.
last year?
Robin Hood is shipping
This
right now.
year?
I just got mine. Yep.
Yep. Oh, I meant Prince John.
Prince John was Prince John was
Yeah.
very early this year. Very early this
Was
year.
he January? Did he
Yep.
arrive?
Yep.
So Prince John and then Robin Hood that went with Prince John
Yeah.
are are two of my favorites.
I was really surprised by the Stork version of Robin Hood, how much it works and how much I like it. Because to me it was like,
We
this is going
spent
to be
so
fun, but
much time figuring out how to make that thing work, and the fact that it actually works is
yeah.
crazy. Because
Yeah.
in animation, they're like, "Yeah, we don't have to worry about
And he's
physical
like
volume."
standing on one foot and walking around and whatnot. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, those two I was super excited about.
We need more of those Robin Hood guys though, man. I'm telling you now.
You and me both.
Ah.
Um, that's probably the easy answer. I mean, uh, the hard part about all these things when you talk about it is like we all like these franchises for very disparate reasons.
Yeah.
So it's hard to be like, oh well, here's Prince John and Robin Hood, but then here's Megatron. But I was
Yeah.
like, well, the way I feel about Transform is just so radically different because of the different experiences that I have that
Yeah.
they kind of aren't on the same footing. They're just in different places.
Yeah. Well,
I was so much younger on
to your point,
Disney.
I wasn't expecting Hyacinth Hippo to be one of my favorite Ultimates figures of the year, but she really turned out that way. But I couldn't pick one either, so
Yeah,
I got to go with Monkeyan and Ray Fillet
Ray Fillet.
as my two
Yeah.
picks. Yeah. He's my favorite non-Donatello turtle figure or character anyway, but I just think that the colors, how he's a big chunky guy with all, yeah, I really dig this figure. So he had to make the top on that for sure.
See, and that's where you get into the hard part, because like you said, Hyacinth Hippo is like, it's a really cool toy, way cooler than you would think it would be.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's so big.
yeah, yeah.
And but is it my favorite? Oh, well, then I come back down, and my favorite's going to be the same favorite I had when I was like 6 years old, which is why
Exactly.
it's, Robin Hood and Prince John. But that doesn't mean it's that I'm not really proud of that figure.
Right.
Uh,
Right. Well then maybe a more general question. What do you think was the best thing about 2022 for Ultimates in general?
For Ultimates in general,
Yeah,
it's hard because I am going to look at everything that we've done and think about all the things that
right,
should have happened, didn't.
right.
And so when you say what's the best part about Ultimates, and be like, we made a lot of cool stuff, but more than anything, I'm frustrated by the amount of cool stuff that should have happened but didn't.
Yeah.
I think that's, in my mind, the most defining feature of 2021 in Ultimates was that Silverhawks, G.I. Joe, and Power Rangers. Oh, Power Rangers is coming too.
Yeah.
You know that, and that it didn't ship. Like that's the define is like, if that stuff had left as well, you'd be like, they crushed it this year. They absolutely crushed it. But
Well,
instead, here we are in December talking about stuff that I thought would be shipping in June.
yeah. Well, and that's I think that snowballs, especially probably from your point of view, because we know the things that get delayed that have been announced, but those delays also impact things I would assume that haven't been announced, right?
More than you would ever know. I mean,
Yeah.
had I delivered GI Joe, had it shipped from the factory and arrived in people's hands in June before San Diego Comic-Con, we'd be having very different discussions about what GI Joe Ultimates look like. But
Right.
instead, all anybody has is a bat from San
Yeah.
Diego.
Yeah.
They don't have wave 1 bat yet. They don't have wave 2 yet.
Yeah.
Like, but instead, we if we had delivered wave 1 before San Diego, wave 3 would have been on sale in August after San Diego. We'd be on wave 4 right now in terms of pre-orders, and you would
Right.
have already had 1 and 2, and we might be closing in on 3 getting into people's hands. But
Yeah.
instead, we're all the way back at square one right now.
Yeah.
And
So would
that
you say
makes
that would you say
everything difficult.
that was the biggest challenge of 2022 then was just that
Yeah,
or
I mean, but it's not limited to just Ultimates,
right.
unfortunately. It's still the case where no one can go to China. You're
Yeah.
not allowed in the country. Uh, so everything takes so much longer. So we're sitting here, in some cases with some lines being able to move very quickly, and in some cases with some lines, like things just taking so much longer to get all those little details right.
Yeah.
Or something like even the turtle van. Like, we could have known those problems earlier. Problems, I call them, but changes we wanted to make earlier.
Sure.
But we're not there.
Yeah.
Can't go. So I've got to do it all remotely. And it's not that it can't be done. It just takes so much longer.
Yeah. Well, well,
So anyways, as much as it's be great because you're going to get a whole bunch of shit in the
yeah.
next 60 days, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be awesome. We're finally going to get some of this stuff caught up so that we can move on to all the ideas that we want to be doing. There's so much more exciting stuff we want to be making, but I can't consider making it till I deliver what you've ordered.
Well, and to your point, I think that impacts ongoing lines and whatnot. But the end of this year has shown us some new properties that have kind of crept into the format as well, like Star Trek and whatnot, which I think is really exciting. But I assume as we get into 2023, the things that will continue. But I have a feeling that you've probably got new surprises in store for us as we enter, next year, as far as lines, properties, things of that nature, because that hasn't slowed down. It's had to be repaced, I guess, but I think Q4 was a lot of surprises for me in terms of what you guys announced.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few things in next year that should be surprises for people, but a
Yeah.
lot of next year, quite honestly, is catching back up.
Yeah.
So much, I'm looking at the calendar right now.
Sure.
So much of it is just like, okay, here's all the stuff we've been waiting to do, finally getting to come out. There are definitely a few other surprises hidden in there.
Yeah.
But there is, at this point, with some of these lines, like I said, if you're talking about using G.I. Joe as an example, like should have been in your hand in June, it's going to be in your hands in January.
Yeah.
Like that's 7 months. So 7 months of next year from this year got kicked over. Well, all
Yeah.
the stuff we had from last year just slid down. For next year, slid down then. So a lot of 23 is already kind of like scripted and done, just waiting to execute. Just waiting to execute.
What are you looking forward to the most for next year then? Just getting caught up, or is there something more to that?
I think quite honestly, what I'm looking forward to is that we feel like we've finally gotten things back on schedule, back on track, and things executing.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have a year where things just work,
Yeah.
where I can plan something to come out in this month. I can plan for, some buffers in there to make sure, and have things arrive on time, and have everyone have a degree of confidence that if we say something is coming at this point, that it comes,
Yeah.
rather than dealing with the global chaos that there is. That said, like, it seems like with the easing of COVID restrictions in China due to the mass protests, that should at least not hinder anything. But I mean, quite honestly, once all those protests started, I was like, there's no way any of my factories are like, oh yeah, we're 100% on schedule, as we always have been with all this upheaval going on. Now they might be at 90%, but still,
Yeah.
I mean, something's going to get pushed somewhere.
Well, and I was going to ask you if you felt that, things may level out a little bit with what we have been dealing with, but at the same time, are you feeling any new or different headwinds coming in? As far, I mean, I don't want to like say Candyman's name 3 times and just, tempt fate with
Yeah, I
that.
don't want to predict problems, but I mean, there's definitely ongoing hurdles around the strength of the US dollar compared to the strength of foreign currencies. And the easy answer for a lot of people would be like, oh, that's good news for you as a manufacturer, because that means you should be getting less cost overseas. And it's actually kind of the opposite, which is I don't get billed in yuan from the factory. I get billed in dollars.
Right.
Everything they have is predicated on dollars.
Right.
And all their suppliers are predicated on dollars. So even though when the yuan becomes worth less, if they budgeted, say, for, we're going to make it up today. We're going to use big numbers to make it up.
Yeah.
The
Round
factory
numbers.
has said, I'm going to make $1 million this year. And that $1 million will get me, 2 million yuan worth of product. Well, if you're looking at it as a currency exchange, yes, you'll get $2 million. But if the buying power of the yuan then is that much less, then actually your $1 million does not go as far. So it becomes this weird catch-22 where in some cases it benefits you, but in a lot of cases it hurts you. And the other place it hurts us is all of our international customers. So you want to buy stuff from me from Australia, from Spain, from England, whatever. And as the American dollar gets stronger, because as if anybody else here that's European, they're not only buying it from us, then they're having to pay a higher shipping cost, and usually they're having to pay VAT.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now if the dollar is, if it used to be, a dollar was, and the euro's a bad example because I don't know the history, but like say it used to be even to your local currency, or you were paying a 10% premium to your local currency.
Mhm.
Like, well, I pay 10% more, plus I pay an additional shipping, plus I pay VAT. And it comes out that your $55 ultimate costs me about 75 or 80. Well, if the US dollar's up another 10%, now that thing's costing me 80 or $90.
Yeah.
All of my distributors, all of my retailers is like, I can't buy as much, or the margin, the numbers don't work for me anymore. And at what point is it too expensive?
Right.
So, I really look at 2023 as a very unknown year where I think everybody's having talks and concerns about layoffs and recessions,
Hmm.
the strength of the dollar internationally, lots of political upheaval. I mean, the war in Ukraine was affecting prices in China when it was, 6 months ago, much less now, where, the war is definitely escalating a bit, where
Yeah.
Ukraine's hitting targets inside Russian borders, which is kind of an unthinkable
Terrifying. Yeah.
event. Even a year ago, you would somebody attack something inside Russia's border, you'd be like, who would do that?
Yeah.
Like, oh shit, that's happening. Like
Yeah.
all that political upheaval stuff happening in China, everything else, like anytime there's any uncertainty, prices go up
Yeah.
because people want to make sure that they're covered.
Speculate safely.
And when prices go up, they never come back down. It's sort of
Right.
like, the 9/11 fee on your airplane ticket.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
You know? It
Yeah.
just is. So, uh, with that, along with, inflation here is what, 7% on the year, 7.4.
Hmm.
Inflation in a lot of places. I know in Great Britain, I think it's a little over 10%.
Yeah. It's much higher. Yeah.
Other places it's higher. Like all of those things play into all this stuff where, you know, if it's 10%, if it was $55 last year, it's $60.50 this year. So all of that stuff. So when you say like, what do you think 23 is gonna be like? I'm like, 23 is very much like, let's execute, let's make sure things are on top. We're going to have to watch every other factor out there: consumer spending confidence, inflation, worldwide politics,
Yeah.
exchange rates, all of those things to sort of make sure that we're healthily delivering product to people.
Yeah.
Um, and that sounds sort of weird, but it's like all those weird confluence of factors come back to get you. So I think 23 is going to be a very lumpy, uneven year that most everyone's looking to sort of like, as long as things can sort of calm down and stabilize in 23, then 24 can be awesome. And
Okay.
so really when I look at 2023, I'm like, I hope things can calm down a little bit, stabilize a little bit, and everybody can get back to feeling good about things rather than scared of things.
Well, and
But we're taking it down a dark turn that has
no, no,
nothing to do
no,
with
no. And
toys.
that's thoughtful and succinct, and I appreciate that, because I mean, when you
I
enter
don't
that.
think I don't think anyone's ever labeled me succinct.
Well, I suffer from that as well. So that's just, two of a kind talking to each other, as far as that goes. But it gets to the point where does it level off and correct, or does something burst and things have to change dramatically? I'm not like wanting to be, dramatic about that, but to your point, with the points that you brought up, 2023 could be very indicative of that, and hopefully things will, you know do what needs to be done in 2023 so 24 can be a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I hope
Because you're
that.
planning 2020, you're getting close to planning 2024 if you're not
Oh
there
no,
already
no,
at
no.
this
20,
point.
2024 is mostly planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm working on. There's always things that'll be updated into
Sure.
2024, but now I'm starting literally around what's going on in 25.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I appreciate.
Gratefully recolors left and right.
Hey, there's precedence for that, you know.
There
Repaint,
is.
color change. There you go. There you go. You're talking to the guy that will be like right here.
Not
Well,
yet.
well, I appreciate the, the insight, as always, on that, and the things that are top of mind, for you as someone who sits where you do, but it's things that I think a lot of people in the community think about, even though they're not really sure that that's what they're thinking about, if that makes sense. So hearing how it it is as it comes to us, everybody's impacted by it in a lot of different ways. But our your business, our hobby, are things that are very much in the thick of it, and it's just the way the world works.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing how interconnected some of these things are sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll press my luck for with one last question.
Let's go.
Any hint or little wink that Santa Brian would like to provide before we wrap this up, and I let you get back to the things that matter.
Um, there's one more Ultimates drop this year. It'll happen later this week.
All right.
It's some cool couple Transformers.
All right.
So
Looking forward
I
to it.
think it'll be I think a little bit unexpected
Okay.
once again,
Yeah.
but a fun pair of figures before the holidays.
Awesome. Well, hopefully things will work out the way that you were talking about them as we head into Chinese New Year, and we'll know that there'll be some, time once that happens before things really pick back up again. But as always, thanks for, talking with us today, throughout the year, and whatnot. We always really appreciate it. And I
Well,
hope that
I'll hang out and talk toys with you guys anytime you want.
well, and we're
One
kind
of
of
these days
saying
we'll get Robo back on the line. I don't think he likes people anymore.
he just likes he likes two-way conversations, and he feels like, once you kind of bust out of that a little bit, it gets a little crazy. But I don't know. We'll see what I can get him to do here before too long.
All right, we're just gonna give him a shout out then.
Yeah,
Shout out.
that'll work. Well, I know, as we said, the production cycle does not sleep for our holiday season, but I hope you get a chance to enjoy the holiday season, and it is good for you and your friends and your family, and wish you, health and happiness as we head into 2023. And I'm sure, get a chance to catch up, later on down the road as far as that goes.
For sure.
All right.
Thank you as always. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Well,
Have
thank
a
you.
lovely, lovely end of year to everyone out there.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. Of course, you can always check out the newest and latest for Super 7 on super7.com, as well as all over the popular social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But this is a great way to close out 2022. Thank you again. And until next time, we'll catch you on the Fwoosh.